I just want to thank Marlene again for just inviting me to be here. Thank you to the executive board and, of course, my longtime friend. And I think the longest active member of the Black Caucus is Nahasi Lee. I really want to thank him for just being here and just making sure that it just continued. Nahasi took over the second year, and after that, he's been involved with the Black Caucus for that long. And I also, which I didn't say last night, I really, really want to thank my husband, Samuel Price, who is here with me, who takes the rides with me and, you know, puts up with me. And just thank you, Samuel, for being supportive of me. I'm going to be talking a little bit about making a commitment, that there's work to be done. I started at College of the Desert after we closed our loan processing business and wanted to be involved. Thought that I had good ideas and I wanted to be involved in student body government. I had never been involved in student body government in high school, junior high, or anything like that. Got elected to the Board of Trustees. And that's where I think my political career and my dreams started there. Came to the Black Caucus, got elected as president, decided that, you know, we needed to do something to hold us together, and that how important it is that we be educated in, you know, leadership. So that's why this whole Black Caucus got started, because I wanted to see us grow. My advisor back then was Don Dorsey, and he said to me, Juanita, this is what you have to do. You have been elected to represent the African American community college students, first and foremost. He says, then after that, you can look at the Hispanic students, the Asian students. But first you need to know where your emphasis must be. So after that, let me just tell you what happened. This was like, the Black Caucus was like a starting point for me. I went on to be elected policy director for the Student Senate in Caucus. I introduced legislation which added a second student member, because you guys don't know that there was only one student member on the Board of Trustees, and that member did not have a vote. I introduced legislation. I had Vasconcelos, then a senator, help me. He authored it for us. I lobbied. I was a student. I lived in Palm Springs. I flew to Sacramento 2 and 3 times a week, knocking on doors, asking people to support this legislation. We needed 2 students on the Board of Governors, and that they needed a vote. Okay? I was committed to that, to do that. It took effort, being a student, a mother, a wife, and to do this work. Played off. Next year, I was elected president of the Student Senate in Caucus. After that, I went on to UC Riverside. Oh, I had a baby in between. Took 7 years off. 7 years. Came back. Went to UC Riverside, graduated cum laude. Went on to USC, University of Southern California, and I just graduated with my master's degree in teaching. So, thank you. So, let me just tell you about some statistics, because I'm in teaching. According to the California Department of Education, 47% of African American students in 2011 did not graduate. 47%. While white students, 15% of them didn't graduate. What is that? What's the statistic of community college students? Do you know? Anyone know? How many of us don't graduate?
80.
80. It's between 48 to 52%. What is that? We're getting to college, but we're not graduating. How many African American students are in a master's program or higher? About 3%. About 3%. As educators, what we call that an achievement gap. They said, oh, it's an achievement gap. We have a gap between what African Americans are doing and what the white students are doing. It's a gap between there. Well, I like to call it, some people say, oh, it's a gulf, because it don't seem like we're going to be able to close this gap. But I submit to you that it's not a gap. What I like to call it is next. Because some time ago, my mom and them told me he would never be a black president. But guess what? Next. There was things on the line, things that had to be done, and we checked it off as a community, as a population. working together with Hispanic students, Latino students, white students. You know, we work together to accomplish those things. Now, the theme today, this theme of this conference is a call to commitment, shaping a new and lasting legacy of success for African American students, because we don't want to see that gap, okay? But I like to expand that. It says for community college students. I like to expand that. I want us to go beyond, you know, just community college students. I want us to incorporate all African American students, no matter where they are in their journey, in their educational journey. So that could be community college students, and as I understand, the Black Caucus is now looking at high school students. Okay, we need to look at maybe our mothers and fathers that need to go back and complete what they didn't do to complete it. So I'd like to say we need to incorporate that. So how are we going to do that? How are we going to say that we want to close this achievement gap? First of all, to change it and to create a new lasting legacy, we have to make a commitment. You got to make a commitment that we in this room will finish what we started. Because all of us here have not, you guys haven't finished yet. Well, maybe some of you, I don't know if you guys have finished yet, but you haven't finished yet. So I want you guys and us, all of us, to make a commitment to finish what we started. That means to graduate. I can tell you how many students that started with me, that were involved in student government, that were great leaders, but somehow fell off by the wayside and didn't complete. Got too involved with policy and student leadership and forgot that first of all, they're students. So I want to encourage you to remember, first of all, that you're a student. And you came here and you're here to finish your degree. Secondly, what we have to do is, I think that it's time that we have to give back to our community. It doesn't make any sense that Juanita came from parents. My father had a third grade education. He couldn't read, really. You know, he had third grade, but at third grade he couldn't read. My mother had a fifth grade education. It doesn't matter that I came from a family that didn't have much education. But my father, all he kept saying was, get a good education. I couldn't get an education because I had to work. I had brothers and sisters, and if I didn't help my parents work, my brothers and sisters wouldn't have ate. But I want all my children, I have 8 sisters and 4 brothers, I want all of you to graduate from high school, and all of us have graduated from high school. And back then, he thought that high school was a big thing, but I submit to you today that now you need to have a college degree. So, how are you going to give back? I think that you've begun to give back now by being here today, being involved in the Black Caucus. So right now, I just want to stop. I want everyone to take out a pen and paper, and I want you to write down the date that you're going to finish your AA, the day that you're going to graduate with your associates, or the day that if you're going to transfer without your associates, the day that you're going to graduate with your bachelor's. Come on, take it out, because what they tell me is that when you are committed to a goal, to make it happen, you have to write it down. Make a contract with yourself. I don't see you guys writing right there in the row. I don't see you taking out no paper. Get some paper from somebody. It's important. This is very important. Okay.
That was Santa Monica College, 1999.
That's what I'm talking about. I want you to write it down. The Bible says that when you have a plan, it says to write it down and make it plain. So I want you to write down that you're going to graduate with your degree and when. And the second thing I want you to write down is, how are you going to give back? What are you going to do? What are you going to offer to this caucus? What are you going to offer in your community to give back to what was given, some of what was given to you? Because this is a great opportunity to be here today. Didn't have to be that way. And I'm sure our new president, oh, by the way, congratulations to all the new board. Okay? Congratulations to all new board members. In other countries, we take this thing that we have here in America for granted. In other countries, and I'm sure our new president will talk more about that. In his country, you're not getting an education unless your parents can pay for it. Unless your parents got some money, you're not going. There is no public school for you to go learn how to read and write. If your parents do not have the money to pay for you, and most of the time, I don't know, I understand that sometimes they can put them in through 1st to 6th grade, but that's about it. This is a great opportunity. And I want to know what you guys are going to do to give back to your community, to your parents, to the people that encouraged you along the way, that, made a way for you. What are you going to do to say, I appreciate that, and give back to someone else that's coming after you? President Obama, in his inaugural speech, said, we were born for this time, and we will seize this moment only if we work together. And I want to encourage you that we have to work together. Let's get together. Let's work together. Let's call each other. Let's stay in contact. And let's accomplish what you've written down on that paper together. Well, take each other's number. Call if you're having problems. If you're thinking about transferring, you need help writing that letter, that essay, call me. Send it to me. I'm here to help. Call and communicate with each one. So, in ending, I would like for some of you to come up here now and make it public what your commitment is, because there's work to be done. And see this gulf that we're talking about, this students not completing, by you completing, you are going to close the gap. It starts here today. And if we can continue to say, hey, grab each other's hands, it's bad enough. Here we are, African Americans and Hispanic students, we by far are not completing. And we must come together and to complete our programs, our educational programs. So I'd like to, if you can, some of you, please get up and share with.
You're forgetting something that I just knew that you were going to.
What am I forgetting?
Your favorite quote.
Oh, yeah. Margaret Mead?
Yes, could you tell them about? Yes, I just knew you were going to include that one for them.
Well, I probably wasn't on my email, and this is something that since I started at the community college, I really have held this really close. That never doubt that a small group of concerned citizens can change the world. A small group of concerned students can change the world. For indeed, it is the only thing that ever has. And that's by Margaret Mead. In other words, us sitting in this room, we can start a revolution. Like the speaker last night, Dr. MX, Martin X. What he said last night, can you imagine that they started this just right there at Merritt College, how it exploded into something that we take for granted today, that we have black studies on our campuses? Can you imagine that? Well, imagine. What I want you to do is imagine what you're going to start here today and what it will come into. I want you to imagine and dream big about what you want to make happen. And know that, we're in it together and we're all here.